Hi, I'm Callie and welcome to the Dragon Horde. Today I'm going to be unboxing the Living Energy Pre-Built Commander deck from the Aetherdrift release that came out in February. This is actually a lot smaller than I'm used to as commanders go. Most of the commanders that haven't come with any like Planes Chase or Arch Enemy cards, the bigger oversized cards, previously have come in a box this sort of size, so you can see that they've massively reduced like the height and the width. Well, like, it's almost half the size. So there's a huge difference between this and this. So I'm guessing that they've downsized a lot of what is in this box. Just for reference, the Planes Chase is the Much of the Machine stuff. The Death Toll video I've done is in a box that's very similar size and shape. This again is fairly thin. They're about the same actual depth, but these have a lot more like length to the box, whereas both of the Aetherdrift commanders are in these actually quite small and tiny boxes. So my guess is that they've left a lot of the ancillaries, the nice to haves, out of these two commander decks. Now, there's something to be said for not providing a 20 life counter spin down die in every deck, or not providing like the tokens or the this or the that. So we'll turn it over, we'll see what it says it comes with, and we'll have a look at the actual opening, and then I'll pull out the 10 new to Magic cards, and then I'll probably do a revisit, because I'm going to get the opportunity shortly to actually play some Commander with some friends. So I want to get this and the other Aetherdrift opening filmed, so that I can also give you feedback for how well they actually play. On the front, this says it has one collector booster sample pack, so that's the much smaller booster, probably with 2 foil cards in it. It's got the nice tear strip down the side, which again I really like. Ready, set, charge, so it probably works on the start your engines, get to 4 deck power increases, which is the whole mechanic around Aetherdrift. This in the bottom says 100 card deck with 10 new cards, so that's what we expect from most pre-built commanders. It has the cardboard deck box or enclosure, 10 double-sided tokens, a strategy insert, and a reference guide. So that's leaving out like all of the other ancillaries that you would have got in any of the previous commanders. There are only 2 commanders in the Aetherdrift set. This one and the Eternal Might. This is a triple colour in green, blue, red, and the other is a triple colour in white, blue, black. So let's open this up, and we're going to slide this out and we'll see how well it's packed. So, looking at the start, slightly more than a standard reference card. Actually, that's quite nice, telling you what the main strategies are around the 5 different mana types. Gives a brief overview on actually playing the deck, a brief overview on Commander. Some actually fairly nice artwork, which I think is just the artwork on the Commander, but it's a much bigger format. Yep, again, some lore around the Commander, which is nice. That's actually quite nice. It's probably about A4 sized, and you could probably stick that in a frame, stick it up if you wanted. So I actually quite like that. There are the 100 cards from the top, nothing in the side. We've got 6 +1/+1 tokens that are single-sided, and I thought it said there was a booster in here. because I've actually managed to not pull everything out of the box. So we've got the cardboard deck box and the collector booster. So that's actually remarkably well packed for the amount of stuff that you get, and that flat pack's a lot easier. So actually, for recycling these, that's a lot nicer than some of the other commander decks that we've had in the past. That's nice. I'm guessing this deck runs on energy. In fairness, I was kind of aware that this is very much a counters deck, so having whiteboard counters you can draw on is very useful. I've got some of these Tesseract tokens that I use. They're plain on one side, very much token themed on the other. These are remarkably useful. For some reason recently I've had a lot of counters decks, so even things like plus X on dies. This is a 12-sided die that's just got some of the different tokens that you would use on it, and I've even got some like haste and double strike, just actual like almost, I think they are metal tokens that I use. When running counter decks, it's highly advisable that you don't just rely on the tokens in the back of the deck. You tend to find you run out or you don't have enough. Most Magic players end up with additional things that they use. Nope. So I'm gonna have to open this off camera because I'm currently struggling with the nails versus the cellophane, but I will open the collector booster now for you, so you can have a quick look at which wonderful cards I got. Yeah, it's not how we normally open packs on this channel, but it'll do for now. So we will have, yep, the usual promo token with some of the special art from the Aetherdrift set. Yep, and QR code. And we have a Far Fortune End Boss, 4/5 black red human mercenary. That's actually not bad artwork. I don't like an awful lot of the special artwork in this set. And I have a foil Hull Drifter. So I will pause it here, I will get into this, and I will lay out the 10 new to Magic cards so we can have a look at them. So, as you can see, I've laid out the cards. I was quite fortunate in that the commander and the secondary commander were both on the essentially the bottom of the deck, face down, so they were facing back to back because they are the two foils in the deck, and the other 8 were actually on the very top of the deck, just underneath all the tokens. So we've got a double energy reserve, we've got 2 Thopters with golems on the back, we've got 1 Nala Aetherdrift with a golem on the back, we've got 2 other Nala Aetherdrifts with treasure tokens on the back, we have 2 constructs, again they have beasts on the back, and I think it's two beasts with servos. So this, to me, says this is going to be a very token-heavy deck. And as good as cardboard tokens are, when you are running with a big deck that requires a lot of tokens, you end up having a lot of these, and this isn't something that's overly sustainable in most commander pods. So having something that you can just draw on, and you can use that not just for you, you can use it for your opponents as well, it's actually quite a nice touch to be able to do it. Plus, with these being whiteboard counters, as you were, you can just write like 1, 2, 3, 4 on top of it, and everybody knows where you are. As I mentioned, the metal tokens, you can just like throw haste and flying on a creature if it's got those, and that marker sitting on top of that card will make people go, oh yeah, there's a thing going on with that one. So what I'll do is I will start with the commander. We'll have a quick look at her, and we'll go through the 10, and then I will get these sleeved. I will play a game with them, and I'll come back and tell you like how good it plays. I've heard mixed reviews about this, some people saying it's really good, some people saying it's a bit on the slow side. So it's very nice artwork, very foily, very shiny, and this says whenever you play an artifact, an artificer or an artifact, you get an energy counter, which that's great. That's an artificer, they're not, those two aren't, but these are all artifacts and artificers, so I'm guessing it's a fairly big artifact deck. You can pay 3 to create a token copy of any permanent you control, except it's a 5/5 artifact creature as well as its other types and has haste. That's a very nice card. That's going to be horrible to play against when it goes off. Here, the secondary commander. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage, you get 2 tokens. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 or more tokens, create a colorless vehicle artifact with crew 2. Okay. Very artifact and vehicle heavy, but that was the big thing around this set. It was a very vehicle heavy set. Nissa is new. So she's got landfall. When you play a land, you get 2 energy counters. You may pay 8 counters rather than pay the mana cost for permanent spells you cast. Okay, so for big creatures, you play her, you play 4 land, you get a big creature. That's not going to last very long on the battlefield, but we're going to give it a try. The Territorial Aetherdrift is a cat dragon. I really love this idea of it being a cat dragon. Don't know why I have a fondness for dragons. Couldn't possibly be to do with the channel name at all. Flying haste, 6/5 for 6 mana. Yep, that's, again, probably not going to last long, especially with flying haste that can potentially be copied by the commander. Elephant warrior with trample, 3 cost for 3/3 for 3. That's not actually too bad. Pay 6 energy, put 2 1/1 counters on the creature, then draw cards equal to the greatest power amongst creatures you control. That's again aimed very much at gaining energy. Rampaging Aetherhood. Snake Hydra with trample and ward. A 4/4 for 5 mana. Beginning of your upkeep, you get token energy equal to the creature's power. Pay 1 or more. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So play it, get 4 energy, then pay some energy and get that many tokens put on the creature. Next step, get that many energy. This has got a lot of energy ramp in it already, and I've looked up, 6 cards? This is going to be a very counter heavy deck, especially on the energy. A crit creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. That's just a nice card. Pay 2 to get it on the field, pay 3 to equip it. Aetherflux Conduit. Whenever you cast a spell, you get an amount of energy counters equal to the amount of mana cast on that spell. Cool. Pay 50 energy counters, draw 7 cards. You may cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. I get the feeling that's almost never going to go off, because I don't know anyone who's going to let you get up to 50 counters. Might happen, I suppose. Aetheric Amplifier. Tap, add a mana. 4 plus tap, activate once as only as sorcery. Double the number of each counter on target permanent. Double the number of each kind of counter you have. Oh wow. I believe energies are counters, so you can double each kind of counter you have. You have 20 energy, you now have 40 energy. Yep. This is going to be a very high ramp deck. Thopters get +1/+1. Stride, Hanger, Automaton. Cool. One or more artifact tokens would be created under your control. These tokens plus an additional 1/1 Thopter are created instead. Oh, cool. That's a fairly low power card, but like all of these 9 have been remarkably high powered, so I'm really eager to try this out and see how well it plays. It's a triple coloured deck, so trying to get all 3 colours out is probably going to be the hardest part. I see there being a lot of like tick marks on the, oh, I have to do this here and I have to do that there. There's a name for it, it currently escapes me. Trigger points. So, like with Landfall, I've played a land, I've got a trigger, I now get this. Or I've done a thing, there's a trigger point, I can do that as well. I get the feeling this isn't a deck for a brand new player, but I also get the feeling that once you've got the basics down, this deck would work for most players. So, I'll take it away, I'll get some practice in with it, and I will do a revisit and I will let you know how well I did with it. As I mentioned, I actually got to play this deck against a friend, so it was a 1v1 match rather than in a pod of 4. This deck is actually quite a slow burn, it turns out. There's a lot of things for energy ramp, which is great, but I ended up being mana locked, so I didn't have enough mana on the field, and it did hamper the gameplay a little bit. One of the other things I did notice is that the commander itself, in the tokens that you don't get a copy card. So there was no like copy artifact creature 5/5 haste token, hence why there is one written. And actually having the energy as a whiteboard where I was able to mark up how much I'd got, that worked really, really well. The commander itself has an older variant of the card as a planeswalker in the deck, and the lieutenant again also has an older copy of the card, so you've got things with similar names. However, when I was playing, the fact that both myself and the person I was playing against went, in 2 turns the other player will be dead, it was one of those very close matches, and it really, really played well, and it felt nice to play. I particularly liked the Aether Ancient, where he can pay 8 to return all other creatures into owner's hands. That played really nicely and worked really well a couple of times. And while looking through the deck, I spotted you've also got the Aethertide Whale, who's got something similar. You get 6 counters when he enters, and you can pay 4 to return him to his owner's hand. So that is quite a decent energy ramp, and with things like the Aether Flux Conduit and Aetheric Amplifier, where this one, no matter what spell you cast, you get energy tokens in regards to the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. And with the Aetheric Amplifier, you can tap 4 and tap it, and then double the number of each kind of counter you have. So if you have 20 energy and then tap this, you then have 40 energy, which works remarkably well. There's a couple of other abilities in there, like Landfall. The Elder Gargaroth played really well for me in the fact that it's vigilance, reach, trample, and whenever he attacks or blocks, you can create a beast creature, gain 3 life, or draw a card. And you can only do one of them, but that played really, really nicely till it was denied and taken off the field. But you'd expect that. I mean, other noticeably fun cards just in general, the Lightning Runner, that if you pay 8, you can untap all your creatures and you get an additional combat phase. Lightning Greaves, which for a 2 cost, equipped creature has haste and shroud, and it's just an equip 0. So you can swap this piece of equipment onto any creature as you bring it into battle, which is really, really nice. And Soul Guide Lantern. Now, given I've done a video on the Death Toll Duskmourn deck, which is put things in graveyard, bring things out of graveyard, the fact that this is sacrifice an artifact and exile each opponent's graveyard, if you're playing against zombie decks or mill decks, this is particularly nasty, which is fantastic in my opinion, because it's my deck, so I'd want that. But it's a good card to bear in mind depending on the type of player you have within your commander pod. One of the other really, really cool cards I found while playing was Disallow. Now, this isn't just counter target spell, which is a fairly nice card, but this is counter spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. So, okay, you can't stop somebody bringing a land in, but if, for example, I try and double the energy tokens I've got, and you've got this, you can stop that from happening, which again is a really nice addition. There were a couple of cards that didn't play particularly well for the setting I was in, and there are a couple of cards that don't feel like they belong in this deck, at least for me, but that's the whole point of a precon. That means you can take those cards out and add in the cards for the type of playstyle you like. So, as a whole, this played nicely. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for brand new beginners with the amount of terminology that's in here. So, landfall, trample, ward, vigilance, reach, trample. There's a lot of terms that some new players may get confused with, and there's an awful lot of trigger abilities going on at various points. So you've got upkeep, you've got things going into your graveyard, you've got when spells are cast, end of turn. All of those have various different cards that go, pay attention here, you will gain energy. So it's a very good deck. It plays really nicely. I've seen an awful lot of other reviews online saying that this isn't a particularly good deck. I disagree with that. I had an awful lot of fun with this deck, so I would recommend it, but maybe after a couple of months of play where you've learned what ward is, what landfall is. So yeah, highly recommend it. If it's still on cheap, go out and buy it and play at your local game store. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you all have the day you deserve.